SJ. Welcome to Mvskoke Radio, your weekly source for tribal and community news, interesting guests and discussions, plus a local events calendar. SJ Stongo, Gary Fife, Jaho Jifgados, Mvskoke Radio, Mabu Hedge to Wedge. Just want to say thanks to Stan for his little promo during Tradio. Appreciate it there. But just want to let you know it'll just be me here today. Wacky and Zany from Mvskoke Media will not be joining me today. So it's flying solo. Okay, we are going to be sharing the second half of our interview with James Pepper Henry, who is executive director of the Gilcrease Museum. I had an interesting chat with him, and he was quite candid in letting me know what the situation was, the kind of history of museums and Native peoples, and where they want to go and get more involved with the community. Also on the program this morning, we'll be speaking with Rachel Sourjohn about the National Day to Prevent Teen Pregnancy Awareness event they've got coming up on May the 4th. Just a quick discussion of what they've got and the challenge that our teens are still dealing with. And to wrap up, we have Earth Day this Friday, and we have James Williams, who's Director of Environmental Services for Mvskoke Creek Nation. He'll be joining me to talk about the event they've got, the second annual Earth Day cleanup event. That's on the 22nd, so we'll have lots of stuff for you. But first of all, let's start with Mr. Pepper Henry. We were talking about diversity in the community and the museum and how his institution is going to be tackling it.
I really think that when people come here and they have the opportunity to have a docent-led tour or to interact with our volunteers and docents, they do come away with a better understanding, and maybe their perceptions have changed. Maybe they had one perception when they walked into the museum, cowboys and Indians, and then when they walk out, they understand that it's much more complex than they thought, and much more diverse and much richer than they ever anticipated in terms of the culture.
A lot of our people transcended both cultures, were cowboys and Indians. And of course, these amazing sculptures in your galleries, the Remingtons and things, that just demonstrate that. Has the museum taken upon itself to work with any tribes in connection with any particular projects, or perhaps something on a planning board?
Well, we have several projects coming up, including an exhibition on the arrival of the Cherokee people on the Trail of Tears, and that exhibit will open next year. Of course, Mvskoke Creek people, we had our Trail of Tears. The Kaw people had their Trail of Tears. But we're also planning an exhibition on Plains Indians and working with some of the Plains tribes that are here in Oklahoma. But as we think about the interpretive plan moving forward, I would like to see, of course, all the tribes here in Oklahoma represented in a newly re-envisioned Gilcrease Museum. But in particular, Tulsa's an interesting place because you've got the convergence of three tribes here. You've got Cherokee Nation, Mvskoke Creek Nation, Osage Nation, and they all kind of intersect with right here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're in Osage County right now. The Gilcrease Museum sits in Osage County. So I think those three tribes, Mvskoke Creek Nation, Cherokee Nation, and Osage Nation, are three tribes really that should be highlighted here at Gilcrease because we're here in that territory. But certainly the other tribes that are represented here in Oklahoma will have a place in the new Gilcrease Museum. We had talked about, before this interview started, about the new American Indian Cultural Center and Museum that's being constructed. It's halfway constructed in Oklahoma City, and it sounds like now that pieces are falling into place to finish that project, and we're excited about that, and we wish to have a relationship, a more formal relationship with that museum where we can share content and exhibitions, and I've talked to them about loaning some of that we have here in our collection to that facility, which helps advertise Gilcrease Museum in Oklahoma City, but also helps them help flesh out their exhibits because they don't have a collection there at that museum. And so I think we can help each other there. But certainly one of our goals, though, is not only to educate our local citizens about the rich heritages, and I put that plural because it's not just one heritage, but of the richness of our the diversity of our communities with American Indians, with African American community. The largest growing community now in the Tulsa area is the Latino community, Hispanic community, and I certainly think that we can be relevant to that community as well. We've got a Frida Kahlo exhibit coming up, an exhibition on West Mexico, which are the more ancient cultures from West Mexico. So we have such a diverse collection that I think we can represent many of the cultures that are here in Tulsa with our collections. And really, as you were talking about, maybe in the past there was a little bit of an elitist bent to the museum, the perception that this was an exclusive club for only a certain group of people. I really want to see the Gilcrease Museum become Tulsa's living room, that we are a center for civic engagement, that we are a place for dialogue, for showcasing, again, the diversity in our community, but also bringing some of the best exhibitions in the world right here to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that's part of our thinking and part of the design of a newly revamped and reimagined Gilcrease Museum, is that not only are we, or do we want to be relevant to our local community, we want to attract people from around the world to come to Tulsa, Oklahoma to see Gilcrease Museum and learn about these different cultures here.
I think we've seen some progress in those, a lot of different areas, and interaction between the city of Tulsa, and of course the state of Oklahoma, this museum, and tribal governments. One simple example is Dewey Bartlett showing up at the Council Oak ceremonies, and he's made a point of doing that for a couple of years. The Creek Nation was figuring into the economic development plans for the city of Tulsa in connection with the low water dams. Gaming enterprises have made such an economic presence for the tribes there. So in a time you've had since you've been back and kind of looking over that, what's your assessment? How are we doing? Are we really establishing ourselves more as a part of this community?
Well, you made a great point that the tribes in our area are a huge economic driver for Tulsa, and Tulsa benefits from enterprises developed by tribes. I don't know how many people are employed in the Tulsa area by the tribes here and their enterprises, but they're hiring non-native peoples as well. So I'm sure there are thousands of people. Just Cherokee, the Cherokee businesses alone probably have close to 10,000 employees. Mvskoke Creek Nation employs quite a few folks here too. So the tribes are a huge part of the economy here in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and will be moving forward. And especially as we see the volatility in the oil industry and big companies like Williams announcing that they're going to lay off 1,000 people and consolidating and moving, and other oil companies moving out of Tulsa, that I think there's real opportunity for economic growth in collaboration with the tribes here, including Mvskoke Creek Nation in the Tulsa area. Tourism is the third largest industry in our state, and certainly has a huge impact on Tulsa. I think we can do a much better job in attracting people from outside of Tulsa to come to Tulsa, and part of that is the rich cultural heritage that we have here, that people, cultural tourism is a big part of the tourism package, and I think people are attracted to that, especially people in Europe, Germany, France. People love the idea of the American West and American Indians, but also Europeans are in love with Route 66, and of course Route 66 comes right through Tulsa, and that's part of the tourism engine as well. We're seeing much more travelers from Asia, particularly in China, coming to the United States and to the West. I think we can do a much better job in attracting the Asian tourists. China has the largest and fastest growing middle class in Asia, and we're seeing more middle class tourists from China coming to the United States. And I think there's a real opportunity there that we can grow tourism, cultural tourism in particular, and Gilcrease is a big part of that puzzle.
Well, tell me about the creek part of that puzzle. If visitors come in, what sort of displays or items or cultural information about the Mvskoke Creek people is available here on display?
Well, we have quite a few artists represented, Mvskoke Creek artists represented here at Gilcrease. And Jerome Tiger is one of my personal favorites, but we have quite a few artists represented. But I think, though, when I think about tourism and culture, I'd like to see us as maybe a launching point for people who want to explore, get a little bit deeper into the story of the tribes here in Oklahoma. For example, I know Mvskoke Creek Nation has been working on restoring the councils there in Okmulgee, and I remember years ago, that the council house was actually owned by the city of Okmulgee, and finally, a few years ago now, that was transferred back to the Creek Nation, and there's been some efforts to restore the council house back to its original glory back in the day. And I would like to see, when people come to Gilcrease, I would like to be able to showcase other opportunities for them to explore the other cultures in the area and advertise what Mvskoke Creek Nation is doing.
Well, you mentioned kind of a sore spot for the Creek people right now. It's proposals to renovate the council house are there, and right now they're caught in a budgetary cycle. I mean, pressing needs like contract health and things like that, and a health deficit may delay something like that. And I've been standing next to the wall with huge cracks in it, so we don't know what's going to happen there. Let me ask you a final question, purely artistic as far as I can take it. We've seen developments, different schools of art, thinkings or disciplines, and maybe I just want to ask you what if you've got a favorite way to go. You mentioned the Jerome Tigers and the AC Blue Eagles and what was called the Golden Age, I believe, and wonderful, gorgeous pieces. The careful case-in strokes and very defined applications of color. But then later on, I guess, coming out of the Institute of Indian Art in Santa Fe, you saw the T.C. Cannons and the Fritz Shoulders and things like that took it off in a totally different direction. And once attending a congressional hearing, I heard a Pueblo woman condemn that kind of thing. Is there room for both styles? Are they here within the molds? Are they in your collections here, the both styles?
Well, I think artistic styles are continuing to evolve. I don't know if we're ever going to have that, kind of that golden age of the gouache artists, which was very controlled and refined. And then, as you mentioned, others like T.C. Cannon and Fritz Shoulder. In fact, Rick Bartow, who we have on display right now, Pacific Northwest artist, kind of defied those conventions and went a completely different direction. But what I'm excited about right now is we see a crop of filmmakers coming up, other forms of expression. I just saw Sterling Harjo's film Miko the other day, a screening of that. And I'm excited about not just these young Native artists, not just, kind of pigeonholed into doing one kind of art. We're seeing multimedia art, film, musicians. Of course, my uncle, many people knew of my uncle Jim Pepper, Mvskoke Creek jazz musician, and he had an influence on Joy Harjo and her playing the saxophone and her with poetry. So we're seeing, I think, a much more diverse crop of artists coming up, not just visual artists, but multimedia artists. And I'm really excited about that. And as we think about Gilcrease Museum of the Future, how do we showcase these artists and their works, not just two-dimensional works on the wall or sculpture, but multimedia, especially film, and how can we showcase those artists here at Gilcrease? So I'm excited about that.
I want to bring such life to this work. Now, I said final question there. Any thoughts that you might have? Is there an idea that you hope the visitors might take away with them when they leave after a lengthy tour of this museum? What do you want them to know or feel or at least be aware of?
Well, I'd like for our visitors to be pleasantly surprised after they've experienced the museum and about, again, the diversity of the stories of the American West, that it's just not one story from one culture, that there are many stories of the American West. And I think we'll have an opportunity here in the next few years as we, again, reimagine Gilcrease Museum to have a much stronger perspective on that story. And again, I think there's room to tell other stories. You don't see a lot of women at the forefront in the American West and the telling of the West. You don't see a lot of these other cultures and their stories going back to that again. So I think we've got a great opportunity there. But I like the fact that people come here and they don't realize the quality of the works that we have here on display, the richness of our archive. I was surprised to find that we have the only other handwritten signed copy of the Declaration of Independence here at Gilcrease. We have one of the only existing copies of the Articles of Confederation, an original copy. We have one of a dozen existing signed copies by Abraham Lincoln of the Emancipation Proclamation. So we have an incredible richness of documents of our American history at Gilcrease Museum. We have the John Ross papers, which are very important to the Cherokee Nation, and other documents that most people have no idea that we have here at Gilcrease. So I think people are surprised that we have those things. And of course, we have the great artists like Thomas Moran. We have more Charles Russells than any other museum in the country. Frederick Remington, even works by Winslow Homer and Andrew Wyeth. So I mean, we have great works of art here, and a lot of people don't realize that. We have over 500,000 items here at Gilcrease. A lot of that is archaeological material, but over 14,000 paintings and sculptures, and most of it we just can't get out on display because we don't have the room for it. And as we think about a design of a new building, we certainly want to get more of that out on display. And we have an incredible American Indian collection representing most of the tribes here in Oklahoma. I'd like to see more of that out on display as well.
Okay. James Pepper Henry, thank you for your time, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Joe.
Okay. That's the executive director of the Gilcrease Museum in Tulsa, actually located in Osage County. Did you know that? They've got approval for their section of the Vision 25 Tulsa Economic Development Scheme, and we're looking forward to the new improvements and changes that they'll be bringing to that museum and more of their interaction. All right, coming up later in our program, we'll be speaking with Rachel Sauer-John on the teen pregnancy awareness event they've got planned. And then later on, James Williams from the Environmental Services Department at the Tribe will be coming in the studio to talk about the second annual Earth Day cleanup event, which is lots of fun. So stay with us. We're going to take a pause here, and we'll be back with more Mvskoke Radio.
Who am I? Am I Indian? Just 'cause I'm a girl from the res, don't make things up about me. What if I move away? Then who am I? Some kids try meth just to escape, but then I think about my grandma, my little brother, my beadwork, my poetry, and I think, I like who I am, and I know meth is not for me.
Check out ncai.org, a message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Who am I? Am I native? I don't want people assuming things because I'm Indian. I just want to be me. But how do I live in two worlds? Some guys just check out by doing meth. But that ain't for me. Because I see my family, my friends, my drum making. my future. There are a lot of cool things about being who I am, and meth isn't one of them.
Learn more at ncai.org. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Joining us on the phone line is Rachel Sauer-John. She's joining us to talk about the National Day to Prevent Teen Pregnancy Awareness event coming up on May the 4th at the Claude Cox Omniplex Dome. Rachel, you there with us?
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me on the show, guys.
Okay, great. Now, you are with the Youth Services Program, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. First of all, as I always like to do, why don't you give me a real quick capsule description of what the Youth Services Program is all about?
So the Youth Services Program was just kind of created to fill the gaps where Creek Nation wasn't already filling in for our Muskogee youth. So a lot of things that we've done is we've created a youth council, and through that youth council, our youth have really been empowered to kind of take control of the way that the tribe is handling services for them as well. And then we kind of fill in, like, say, with this event, we're filling in where Creek Nation doesn't already provide teen pregnancy prevention awareness. Just
right.
Different areas like that.
Right, and you come at it from a young person's point of view, right?
Yes. Nancy, I always love it. One of the things she always says about working with the youth is nothing about us without us. So that's really what Muskogee Nation Youth Services is about. I feel like everything that we do, we make sure and have the youth input. We ask them, hey, what do you want to see? Where would you like to go with this? Everything youth-centered. So they're really the ones that control the program.
Now, have these young people come up with any really innovative and challenging things for you to deal with? I mean, have they surprised you with anything?
Not quite. I'm definitely sure that that's coming. We're still kind of a baby program, just barely a year old. We'll be celebrating kind of our 1-year anniversary in June. And so they haven't presented anything that we haven't really dealt with before. Nancy has worked with youth for several years, so she's definitely seen it all. But for me and Cassandra, our other new specialists, it'll definitely be a learning experience for us.
Well, I think that's fine. You'll at least be on familiar ground and working on problems that have been addressed before, perhaps from other sources.
Oh, yeah.
Who is the membership of your? Do you have a council there? I believe.
Yeah, our youth council.
Yeah, that's it.
They have their own officers, so we kind of let them handle their council on their own. But they essentially conduct their own business. So they meet every month, not just like the National Council, but they meet every month, and they have anything that they want to see in their communities, any events that are coming up, any business that they want to take care of, they bring that up to that youth council event. So, and that youth council is made up of any youth ages 12 to 24. I think our youngest ones are right at 12, and some of our oldest ones are around 24 as well. So we definitely have that broad range of all of the youth that we're encompassing. I know a lot of people, they hear youth and they automatically think younger kids, but we also try to include the college kids as well because they are considered our youth.
Wonderful. Now, you've got an event coming up on the 4th. It coordinates with a national effort to deal with prevention of teen pregnancy. That's a problem that way back when I was a youth, there were efforts to stem the tide of that happening among our people there. Do you have any idea of the size of the problem or the challenge you're having to deal with, either nationally or in the state or perhaps even in our own tribe?
It's kind of hard to gather data, especially with teens that are in the school system, because there's not really a lot of schools that are actually tracking those teens that are dropping out because of pregnancy or those teens that are becoming pregnant during the school year. But I can tell you that nearly 1 in 4 teens becomes pregnant at least once before the age of 20. And those are just that's just a national statistic. Here in Oklahoma, there's really not a super lot of statistics that we can get out. I do believe we were number 2 or 3 in the nation for highest teen pregnancy rates, with Tulsa actually being the highest in the state for teen pregnancy rates, and that's just ages 13 to 18.
Gosh, that's not exactly a leadership role that you want.
Oh, it's really not something that, it's not really something that we want to brag about, but it's definitely something that we need to address, that there's just really not a whole lot of awareness about it yet. And so through youth services, that's kind of one of the projects that I'm pretty passionate about, is making sure that our kids are getting that education and they're aware of the options that they have.
Now, you kind of hinted at something that I was going to ask you about, and that's, the challenge. Why isn't it out there more? Why isn't this a topic of discussion, or people more aware of alternatives? It's a situation where these young people are still reluctant to talk about their situations in public. Is that what you've seen?
Yeah, a lot of that is what that is. I think it's just Oklahoma in general, just kind of talking about it is kind of taboo. It's something that you don't really talk about. And then options as far as birth control is not something that you really talk about, especially for our young teens. You don't really want to think of them doing those things and making those choices, but the reality is that they are making those choices. And so we just want to make sure that they're aware of the options that they have as far as birth control, contraception, things like that. And especially culturally, you hinted at that within our nation, it's also even more taboo, I'd say.
Yeah, we, for example, when way back in the Stone Age, when I was still going to junior high school, one of the most popular girls, cheerleader, class leader in school, she ended up pregnant with the team football captain kind of thing. And all of a sudden, she went from being, this wonderful person everybody knew to people kind of slinking around her saying, oh, my God, did you know what she did and what she's doing now and this sort of thing. So are we still living with that kind of perceptions?
I think there is still a lot of that I was having a conversation the other day about it. There's not really a lot to talk about prevention, but there's a lot to talk about after it happens. And so I think that is still pretty prevalent today, that we don't talk about the choices that they're making afterwards, but then we talk about the choices they need to make or that they have to make after the situation. Mm-hmm. There's definitely a negative connotation with it after the fact.
Right, yeah.
Which is why we want to get the conversation started before the fact, so that we're not having to deal with those, because not only is that going to affect their school, but it affects their personal life, how they feel about themselves. All of those things are encompassed in that one decision.
Now you mentioned a couple of forms of birth control there. It seems like more people would be taking advantage of that. I remember when the pill was first introduced to our society, and what a kind of a revolution it was. I think referred to sometimes as a sexual revolution, but all of a sudden young women were free of the fear of an unwanted or unplanned pregnancy, and it became popular very quickly. Now, we still see young women ending up with these unwanted pregnancies, and it just goes through my mind saying, don't they know about alternatives? Whether it's a pill or something like that, or some other form of birth control. Isn't it out there? I mean, don't young people talk about it, or even young guys saying, "Wait a minute, before we do this, do you have birth control?" Kind of thing. So,
I definitely believe that that's a huge question that gets asked. But a lot of it is they either don't know about it, they're scared to ask their parents about it, or they don't think that they're old enough to get it. Through some of the state programs, they're able to get birth control starting at age 13. So they do have access to those things, and they don't necessarily need parental consent at most places. And they can pick up contraception at the state health department, our Creek Nation providers. They definitely offer long-acting reversible contraception, which is kind of one of the things that we're going to be pushing through our teen pregnancy prevention awareness event. And it's just because it's so simple. There are some risks, but it's something that, as teenagers, you're not going to wake up and remember to take a pill every day. So it's something that they can have implanted, and they're not having to worry about it every single day. But definitely, it's not something that the young people talk about to each other about. It's really not something that they want to talk about, period, because they don't know how to have that conversation.
Yeah, I can see that, but with our society, I guess, being so much more aware of it than we used to be, that someone would want to look into those possibilities before they begin really sexually active and this kind of thing like that. Now, on Wednesday the 4th, you've got this teen pregnancy awareness event planned for the Dome. And I understand this is a national campaign that you're taking part of?
It is a national campaign through the National Campaign for Teen Pregnancy Prevention, Teen Pregnancy and Unplanned Pregnancy Prevention. It's something as a part of the National Prevention Week. So there are going to be other prevention days that week, but that particular day we wanted to focus on. And there's actually a National Day quiz that we want everyone to take part in, and it's for youth and adults. And after you take it, it's really interactive. It kind of it takes you through the steps of making those choices that our teens so often make. So, number one, it's really good for our teens to take it so that they can be thinking about those situations. Even if they're not in those situations right now, they can be thinking about how they could handle it, how they want to handle it. And then also for the adults to take it to see, these are situations our kids are going into. How can I be more prepared to talk to them about this? How can I address the situation before it comes to that?
What other kinds of activities do you have planned for this event?
That quiz is actually going to be extremely interactive throughout the program, but we're also going to have HIV and Hep C testing. And even though it is a teen pregnancy prevention awareness event, we really want to make sure that our teens know that even if they are on birth control, that using another form of contraception for STD prevention is extremely important. And so we do also have that HIV and Hep C testing that we'll have at the event. Along with there will be resources there. They're kind of set up. They will be set up as far as prevention. And then self-care in the event that we do have a teen parent that comes, or in the event that we have a pregnant teen that comes, we want them to still be able to access those resources that we have throughout Okmulgee County and within the tribe. It is open to the public. And then we have aftercare, so there will be WIC there, people for parenting, all of those types of resources. It's not necessarily just going to be a teen pregnancy prevention awareness event. We want to encompass everything that is.
Wow, that sounds like a really well thought out agenda there. Okay, let's see. That's event on Wednesday, May the 4th at the Claude Cox Omniplex Dome, and that's from 3:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. So if someone just gets off work and wants to check it out, you'll still have time, right?
Yes, and we definitely invite all of our Mvskoke Creek Nation employees to come over. For those that have frequent interaction with youth, or even ones that have the young kids, where there will be a corner where parents that if they don't know how to have that conversation with their kids or they don't know how to start it, there will be Dr. Johnson with our Creek Nation provider, Creek Nation Health, will be there to help them start that conversation, give them some language. So
there's still a tough conversation to have, huh?
It is.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rachel. We appreciate you taking time to fill us in on this event. Perhaps we'll cross trails in person over there. We'll come over and take a look ourselves.
That would be excellent.
Now, if anyone has questions and wants to get in touch with you, how do they do that?
They can call Youth Services at 918-549-2557, or they can also, if they are not comfortable on the phone, they can email us at youthservices@ncn-nsn.gov.
All right. Rachel, again, we want to say, Mado, we wish you well and a lot of success with this event. And as I say, we'll see about strolling over there to take a look ourselves.
All right, Mado, thank you, and we hope to see everyone there.
Okay, and we'll take a short pause here, and then we'll be back with Mr. James Williams, who's going to fill us in on the upcoming Earth Day annual cleanup event. So please stay with us here on Mvskoke Radio, here on 1240 The Brew.
Hear that? That's the sound of Hope being killed by meth. Methamphetamine use is causing huge problems in our community. Hear that? That's the sound of something you can do about it. Events like rodeo, res ball, and family time can help keep kids away from meth.
Talk to your kids. Keep our culture alive. A message from the Partnership for a Drug-Free America and the National Congress of American Indians.
Learn more at ncai.org.
Nearly 22 million women and girls and nearly 1.6 million men and boys have been raped in their lifetime, probably by someone they know. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. If you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, confidential support is only a phone call away. Contact the Mvskoke Creek Nation Family Violence Prevention Program at 918-732-7869 and ask to speak to an advocate. Services are free and open to the general public.
Okay, we're back here on Mvskoke Radio and welcoming into our studios Mr. James Williams. Hishjay, Stongo.
Hey, Tinda.
Okay, yeah. Hirumahe. We're here to talk about the second annual Earth Day cleanup event put on by Environmental Services here. And you guys got a lot of stuff you're covering in your normal program, and then you add something like this. As always, why don't you take a minute or two to kind of give us a description of Environmental Services?
Sure, no problem. We're located at in the Mvskoke Creek Nation complex, and we do a variety of services for the tribe. We do water samples, soil samples, mold samples. We do a lot of work for the housing. We do a lot of work for other folks that have different departments that need our assistance. We also have the recycle center going. And so we just do a variety of things, from whether it be septic tank inspection or lagoons or all the nice stuff, mold, lead-based paint, asbestos, get all the fun stuff.
Oh, it sounds like, oh boy, just kind of job I'd be looking for.
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah, there you go.
Now, I think, first of all, most people in the public would know you from the Recycle Center there.
Right, yeah, that's pretty much on the forefront right now. Our recycling center, we've had it going for a couple years now, and boy, it's really taken off, and we're just pleased that we've had a good response for it in our tribe, and some of the other people that take advantage of it. It's just going really well. Later on, I'll tell you about some of the stuff that we've got going out there, but our main thing today is to talk about our Earth Day cleanup coming up this Friday on April 22nd, 2016. But let me tell you just a little bit about what last year's was. Our first year, we had that, and we were taking it for what it was. The city of Okmulgee and Chris Asbell and Jennifer Bailey from the Okmulgee County Conservation District was looking for a cleanup team, and we said we could probably get one together. And being Earth Day, we usually do planting trees or do a recycle collection, and so we were looking for something different. And so we said we can do this, and so we put a call out to the Mvskoke Creek Nation employees and some of the different departments to donate a few items. And like I say, we weren't expecting such a big turnout last year. We were hoping for 50 to 75 people, and we got well over 100 last year. And so it went really well. We cleaned up the loop from the Morse Highway all the way out to 75, and we're going to do that again this year. And so we're putting a call out again to for some folks to come volunteer. You don't have to work for the tribe, but if you'd like to, we'll take you. You just need to be 18 or older. Our registration will be at noon, April 22nd, at the College of the Mvskoke Creek Nation. Just look for the pop-up tent. We'll start signing people up. You do have to sign a little waiver saying that if you do fall down, we're not liable for you, and that you'll let us use your picture if we make a little PowerPoint or something. And then the actual cleanup will start about 1 o'clock and go till 3. We'll all head out to the recycling center afterwards, and we're going to have some food, refreshments, some door prizes, and we want to make this event just as successful as last year, and we want to even do any better. We do have a few people that I need to mention because they've just been so instrumental in this, and we work under the Secretary of Interior, which is Chris Asbell, and he's been instrumental in getting this going. Miss Jennifer Bailey, like I say, with the Okmulgee County Conservation District, but also some of the other departments that pitch in is the GSA Department, the Transit Department, the Mvskoke Nation College, the Tourism, Johnson O'Malley Food Distribution, the Light Horse, and we can't forget all the volunteers for the Creek Nation. We have some of the best workers out at the Creek Nation that'll give of their time and whatnot. And also we have some council reps that are volunteering this year. So we are enthused.
It sounds like it just blew up, and it just was far more than you had expected, and it was a great return there.
Oh yeah, it was. We were kind of banking on about 50, 75 last year, and that's all the safety vest I had. And once they started getting more, I was like, oh, you need to stay close to somebody because we're all about safety. This year we will have enough safety vests, and so that's why the age needs to be 18 or older, is because of our safety concerns. And although we do have Light Horse, that'll be our escorts, some people just don't slow down on the highway anymore.
No, and that's why you really aren't wanting any children to show up.
Right.
I mean, poor thing, they might get distracted and accidentally step out where they shouldn't be. Now, what actually happens if you say I were to come over and sign up? What would I be doing?
We would assign you to a team leader. We have 10 different team leaders, and then we'd assign you to a team leader, and then we actually have some shuttle vans or buses to take you to each location. We've broke down our areas for each group. It could be a half mile or 3/4 of a mile. I think the longest one is about 3/4 of a mile. And then we put one team on one side of the road and one on the other, and then they go. The first group will go from like Oklahoma State Tech going south toward the Morse Highway, and the other ones would work toward Mission and Highway 75.
Right, so north and south, both ends.
Yeah, we're going to get them both ends, and then once we get done there, our shuttle will come back by and pick you up, and then we're going to shuttle everybody out to the recycle center, and we're going to have a little hamburger fry, hot dog fry, and some good fellowship. We'll have a few door prizes out there, and then later on, after everybody gets in and gets settled in, we will have we're going to display what we have now is our rain barrel program. We've got some rain barrels set up on our building. We've taken some of the gutter down and piped it into a rain barrel, and we didn't know exactly how well that was going to work or how fast it was going to fill up, but it filled up so fast we had to put a secondary barrel, so now you'll get to see the 1 and the 2 if you get a bunch of water. But that's for our water conservation program, and we're going to try to promote this through the tribe, so we're going to have some people that will actually inquire about some of these barrels, and we'll be able to put them different places throughout the complex, and they can use this water instead of using the water out of the faucet or the hydrant to actually water plants or some other thing, the grass or whatever they want to do. We're just trying to promote this through Creek Nation. Later on, we'd like to see people actually do this on some of their homes. I know if you've got a garden or you have flowers, but you take the water in the summertime, and but I'm telling you that these barrels, you can put the spigot on the bottom or a water hose and just use it just like a regular water hose.
And you'll notice the difference when you go to pay your water bill.
Hey, yes.
Now, going back to the cleanup event, just to make sure people know what to expect, once they get your team out on the highway, you will actually be picking up trash and whatever along the highway, right? right?
Yes, we're going to provide the gloves. We'll have the vest. We'll have the trash bags. We'll also have some water if you need water. And then actually, when you get done, we're going to give you this neat little T-shirt. I thought about you today, Mr. Gary, and brought you one. And
Oh,
Stan, I
bless your
forgot
heart.
about getting you one, but I will get you one. But if you look at this shirt, it's got the little frog on there, and it says, "May the forest be with you."
Oh my God!
And it's
In the Star Wars logo
yeah,
style. Yeah.
And it's got our Mvskoke Creek Nation seal and the environmental services. But they'll also get that as a sign up for signing up and completing the project.
Okay. Well, I have to admit to you, during my Star Wars days, I was always an Imperial guy.
Well, that's okay.
One of the bad guys. We didn't need the Force; we had blasters.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much. I'm going to wear that with some pride.
Yeah, there you go.
Go give some of my friends a hard time there. The recycle center's now been around for how long now?
It's actually been in operation 4 years now.
Right, and it's been pretty well accepted by our community, right?
It sure has. Our collection keeps going up every month. Just last month, we collected 13,000 pounds, 503 pounds of recycled material. For the year, we're up to almost between 35 tons of recyclables that's been diverted from the landfill.
Right.
And I'm telling you, that's our goal.
That's amazing. That's all that tonnage is not getting into our environment.
Yeah.
Messing things up.
Some of the items that we take out there is shredded paper. We take a lot of newspaper. We take plastics 1 and 2, which is we call it the bane of our society now, the little water bottles, because they're everywhere.
Right.
And then the number 2s, you might think, is a big draw because it's like the laundry detergent orange bottles. You wouldn't believe how many milk containers we get, and also the laundry detergent is quite a bit. We get quite a bit of that too. We do take a lot of cardboard. We'll take aluminum cans. But I got to stress what we don't take, because this is key. We don't get any glass, so we don't take any type of glass bottles or anything, or light bulbs. At this time, we're not taking any electronics. We were taking electronics until they started issuing us a fee, and I really don't have any way of collecting a fee and a receipt and all this other good stuff right now, but we'll see what we can do later. We don't take any type of metal. We don't take any type of furniture. We don't take any type of white goods like washers, dryers, refrigerators, stoves. We don't take any white goods if they could take them to Holloman's. We don't take any tires, and we don't take hard plastic. I have a lot of people that'll call me and say, like the farmers or the ranchers that have the feed troughs or water troughs that are that hard plastic. There is a vendor that takes it, but he's not on our list, and so I can't even take a solo cup because that's a number 7.
No.
And the plastics go up to 10 or 12, and I just don't have a vendor that'll take that.
How does someone find out what plastic it is? Is it usually on the bottom of the glass? Or
Yeah, you just turn it upside down, and it'll have the arrows in a triangle, and it'll usually have a number in the middle of it. It'll be a 1 or a 2 or a 5 or a 7, and it'll tell you what's on there.
Okay.
And we take all the 1s and 2s, and actually we do take some prescription bottles, if you'll look on the bottom of those, but we don't take the prescriptions. You can take that to our Light Horse office. We do have a bin over there that we do take expired prescriptions, and then they will collect that and then take that on to the center in Tulsa that will dispose of that properly.
Okay, from health clinic to Light Horse. To,
Yeah, we got it all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now the event itself is it like part of a national observance?
It is. It's Earth Day, and there's events going all over the country. This was one of ours that, like I say, we used to do through years, and we did trees. We planted some trees. We did some other stuff with some fish, and like I say, we had special collection days, different places. But we were looking to get out a little more and do a little more for the community, to clean up and beautify our earth. We were wanting to clean up by our complex. Later on, we want to volunteer for a 2-mile stretch or a mile stretch outside of town to clean this highway up. Actually, as Native Americans, we were some of the first stewards that used everything that they could get a hold of, whether it be an animal hide, skin, the meat. We used everything. And I think there's so much recycling that we need to do ourselves, and then also our tribe can do. But also, if we can pick some trash up and whatnot, and make our surroundings just so much better, I think that's good for everyone. It's good for the community. It's good for the tribe. It's good for everybody.
I wanted, excuse me, I wanted to ask you about the origins of Earth Day. I remember when the first one's coming around, shows you how old I am. And some people perceived it as just some hippie tree hugger kind of thing, and it's grown far beyond that. Right?
Oh yeah, it's gotten a long way. We were talking about that this morning actually, because I'm not too far behind you, Gary, on age-wise. So we can remember when TV went off in the '60s. At the end of the day, and then you could see the guy, the
chief in the war bonnet thing.
Yeah, and had the tear in the eye because all the trash and stuff, And
it was a fake Indian, by the
way. But we're still got that tear in our eye because we still see so much trash on the highway. We still see so much stuff that can be recycled. And if we can divert some of that from the landfill and pick some trash up, and even what we picked up last year, I think we picked up close to 1,000 pounds of trash, and about 600 or 700 pounds of that was recyclable.
My gosh!
So even at that, people will throw something out the window that could probably be recycled.
That's, I guess, one of the huge challenges our society still is dealing with is that disposable society kind of mentality. If you're done with it, toss it out the window. And this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, we run into that. If you've ever gone to a food place and you've ever sat in line at a drive-up window, which we've all have done, most of that stuff I would hope to think that it gets in the trash, but a lot of it will end up on the highway. We see a lot of restaurant items, cups, sacks, holders.
Styrofoam containers.
Yes, out in there, and it's just a way of our society. It's I need it right now, right now, and I see these folks on the waiting to get their food, and I'm just like, I'll just go in.
Quit burning this expensive gas, this fossil fuel kind of thing.
Right.
Okay, now we've gosh, what's happening to my voice here? You have a special thing for the first 100?
Yes, that's the first 100 to call to get signed up. Will receive the free T-shirt. It's have to call Justina Grayson. She's our secretary there, and her extension is 2580. I just checked before I left. We were up to about 50-some volunteers, so we do have room for some more. I know that the Mulkey County Conservation District and Miss Jennifer will bring a few, but we're always looking for a few good hands.
Okay, well, if you want a free T-shirt too, with the forest on it. Have you ever thought about coordinating it on a larger scale? You and I were chatting earlier, and I was talking about how Anchorage, Alaska just incorporated a whole darn city into it.
Right. We would like to do that, and I think that's going to take some planning. It'd probably take some planning, probably take a year's worth of planning to get this, because this takes us, we start planning for this after the first of the year, so it takes us 3 or 4 months to get this all together. And I think we would like to do that. We were in the running last year for Beautify Oklahoma, and we had sent our little group in. We took pictures and sent it in. And we thought we'd done a really good thing by having over 100 people, but it was Mvskoke that won the prize because they had a citywide and had 1,500 people.
Oh, gosh.
And I said, some overachievers, but we can get to that.
I think so.
We can get to that point.
Yeah. You sit down and talk to the Chamber of Commerce or the mayor or something, say, hey, man, I got this great idea.
Yeah.
All right. Well, if someone has questions, wants to sign up, or wants more information, how do they get in touch with you?
They can always call our office at 918-549-2580, and we will gladly give you all the information that you need, or locations, or whatever we can help you with. We will be glad to.
All right. Well, thank you so much, James Williams. We appreciate you stopping in to talk about this Friday's event. And any prizes for the longest snake?
I don't know. We had a gentleman last year that said, "Hey, what do you want me to do with this snake?" And he was holding the snake up, and I said, "I would put that down."
Yeah, he doesn't seem too happy about it. You might want to let him go.
Yeah, let the snakes go. And if you do come out, wear your boots.
Yeah, that's it. Wear old clothes and be ready for
Wear your
mud.
boots. Wear your boots. Yeah.
Okay, Mado. All right. Okay, thank you so much. Now, in the few minutes we have left, why don't we just jump straight into our community announcements? And first of all, let me remind graduates that Muskogee Media will be again publishing its gosh, get it out, Gary. The special graduates section in Muskogee Nation News. And your submissions need to include your full name and information. That profile should be about 150 words. A recent digital photo should also be included. Must be typewritten and submitted no later than Friday, May the 13th by 5. No late profiles will be accepted. And I know in past years we've had a couple of disappointed people who didn't know about it. So if you know somebody's got a graduate on the way, let them know. We want to see them included. If you want an announcement or a senior photography, you might want to get a hold of Muskogee Media, and the deadline there is the 29th, which ain't too far off, folks. So give us a call, Muskogee Media, 918-732-7720. So announcements and your profile. Coming up on the 30th is the Mvskoke Creek Nation Junior Bocce Challenge, where young people will learn to program and compete with little computers, motorized computers. That's April 30th from 9 to 2 p.m. at the Tulsa Expo Square Pavilion in Tulsa. It's open to the public. It's a free event, and there are going to be about 500 kids showcasing their robots. So you might want to check that one out. That's April 30th, 9 to 2 at the Expo Square. Mvskoke Creek Nation School Clothing Program will begin on May the 2nd, and it'll run through December 31st. And it will be providing a grant of $200 for each eligible Mvskoke Creek student once per year. So any enrolled student who is 3 years of age and in a certified Head Start or pre-K, 4 years of age to the 12th grade, attending a private or public school, homeschooled, who are age 5 through 18 are also eligible to apply. So you're going to give them a ring, see if you can come in and see what you can do about qualifying for that grant. Family Violence Prevention and Children's Family Services has a guest speaker to come in on the subject of sexual abuse. Ms. Virginia Ginger Lewis, who will be speaking Thursday, May 5th from 1 to 4 in the Mountain Building. And you can get more information about her story, fighting for change, about coping and recovery. She was relaying her story about the sexual abuse she endured as a child at the hands of her own father, who was a well-known and respected Tulsa attorney. So it's quite a story right there. Give them a call, 732-7979. Movies at the Dome will be happening again May 5th at 6:30 p.m. Activities actually beginning at 6 at the Dome. It's free admission, and there is a concession available, which means you may have to shell out $1 or $2 for something there. The movie is the Pixar movie Inside Out. That's Thursday, May 5th, which is National Children's Mental Health Awareness Day. So give them a call if you're interested, 918-758-1930. That's May 5th, 6:30 at the Dome. Okay, where are we here? Scholarship Foundation Program for the Mvskoke Creek Nation is having its 5K run and fun run walk. Saturday, May 14th, there is a $20 entry fee for the run walk, $25 for the 5K run, and $30 for both after May 1st. So if you want to register, it's www.strideforeducation2016. Evenbright.com. Boy, there is a mouthful. So if you just want a simple lead, give Jennifer Killian a ring, 918-732-7763. Slupslocko Creektown Tribal Town is holding its Citizens Fundraiser Saturday the 14th at 11 p.m. at the Alabama Quasarte Community Building. That's Highway 27 northwest of Wetumpka. Lunch sale starts at 11 and bingo starts at 12:30. Okay, we're about out of ammo here. Mvskoke Youth Texting Club, if you're interested, you get notices of what's happening in the tribe and get a hold of those folks by texting at MNYS to 81010. So thank you. That'll do it for me, Gary Fife, here on Mvskoke Radio. I want to say, Maro Mabu Hedjitskat. Please check with us next week.